It's gone on too long. Nobody cares anymore. I don't want to live in your paranoid world anymore, your masked paranoid world. You know, you go out, it's silly now. You know, you have to have your mask, you have to have a card, you have to have a booster.
This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody. Because if you're the one who's not paying attention and you're coughing and sneezing, you don't want to, then stay out of the public, man. This is not, nobody.
Now that he's back on the scene, Bill Maher has Whoopi Goldberg as his target. Goldberg basically threw out the red carpet for Maher's iconic takedown with her series of contentious remarks since 2022. However, this was a surgical hit rather than merely a roast. Maher turned her arguments into confetti by dissecting her reasoning piece by piece rather than using cheap shots. The outcome? A scorched earth reaction that left Whoopi and her supporters struggling to rally. Why did it strike so forcefully and what caused it? We're going to break it down blow by blow. So stay tuned.
Past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more—
You won't want to miss it, I promise. Whoopi Goldberg just lit the fuse, and now she's trapped in the explosive fallout of unabashed truth. Do you recall when Sunny Hostin was criticized by Bill Maher for lying about his statements? Silence is not an option this time around because of the change in the atmosphere at The View. Apparently on a mission to level the playing field, Whoopi has thrown herself into the conflict. Sunny swiftly called in reinforcements, including Whoopi herself, when she gave way under pressure. Whoa! Did she come in swinging, launching a verbal assault with the raw fury of a reality TV brawler who was desperate to settle the score?
to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
An iconic why is Whoopi Goldberg tearing apart the so-called woke handbook as if it were her holy text when your argument is already losing ground. Put a makeshift straw man together and rush in. It was outlined in black and white by Bill Maher. Simply said, Black Americans want a thriving economy, meaningful employment opportunities, and accountable policing. Whoopi then veers off topic to endorse a former prosecutor who has ambitious ambitions for the working class. Does her narrative hit home? Not even close. She seems to be throwing darts aimlessly in the hopes that one will somehow stick. Nothing lands where it should, and naturally, Bill Maher wasn't amused. Next voice, next voice.
To the police, just, no. It's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are—
Maher, Bill, in a dramatic break from The View's typical plot, he let out his rage and called hoop beliefs as bullshit. Let's face it, the show has turned into a political spectacle that is both terrible and addicting. It is a heated mess that is impossible to look away from, and it is renowned for its provocative and, to be honest, eyebrow-raising opinions on nearly every topic. Even while The View keeps pushing the boundaries, Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin's outrageous and unconventional commentary somehow managed to intensify the pandemonium. And who could forget when Charlemagne the God appeared on that volatile stage? He seemed to be contemplating whether he had inadvertently entered a different dimension.
I think all of the criticism is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that.
Joe Biden, President Hunter, the son of the self-proclaimed defender of the law, was just pardoned after being found guilty of corruption and other offenses. Isn't that a perverse interpretation of familial loyalty? It should come as no surprise that this choice sparked a furor. When you're giving your own child a pass to avoid going to jail, how can you advocate for accountability? If you're not a Biden, it's like claiming that justice is fair, even though Hunter's transgression was as obvious as a toddler with chocolate smudges on their face. The idea of accountability somehow failed to convince the family, which is exactly what Charlemagne was trying to say. The so-called woke crowd had better start living up to their rhetoric if they believe that everyone should be subject to the law. Quite easy, isn't it? Well, not in Whoopi's opinion.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a
No,
sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else.
Brace yourselves for another cringeworthy moment. Courtesy of Whoopi Goldberg, the undisputed queen of eyebrow-raising commentary, this time she's insisting that President Biden was spot on when he declared no one is above the law. Seriously. Whoopi, there's an avalanche of proof videos, recordings, and maybe even some ancient etchings that clearly show he said exactly that. Next voice, next voice.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law. Not even the President of the United States.
Watching Whoopi spin an obvious falsehood is like seeing someone insist the sky isn't blue on a perfectly clear day. Her contortions of logic might as well be Olympic-level feats if only she didn't trip over her own tangled reasoning. Even Charlemagne couldn't hide his shock at her absurd claims, but Whoopi didn't stop there. She went on to suggest that Biden reversed his stance simply because he was fed up with everyone taking advantage of him. Charlemagne, left utterly speechless, remarked,
So I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that
You're
go out.
mis-
They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground. They don't have to do.
Ironically, the so-called woke agenda is quick to jump on every mistake, provided it originates from someone outside of their carefully selected inner circle. Outrage is quick, loud, and ruthless when a famous figure makes a mistake. Unless, of course, that person lives in the same zip code as them. The criticism then subsides into awkward silence, evasive digressions, or abrupt forgetfulness. When Charlemagne stopped over, Whoopi and her crew were given a pass, their customary ferocity oddly muted. However, Bill Maher didn't hold back once he learned of their selective outrage. He revealed the kind of hypocrisy that's difficult to overlook, unless, of course, you're a member of the club. In one of the most brutally honest takedowns in recent memory, all while sipping a drink and grinning with season.
Love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth.
The dissection of Maher was essentially a surgical procedure. He exposed the stark discrepancy between the woke elite's claims and deeds by tearing through their sanctimony with his trademark mix of wit and unreserved clarity. They portray themselves as defenders of justice, but they casually turn a blind eye when their own are being questioned. For instance, Hunter Biden's political closeness to the White House gave him a cover that the typical American could only imagine, despite his evident wrongdoing. Maher was blunt. The outrage machine would be in full swing if Hunter were anyone else. But accountability becomes optional because he is shielded by the appropriate last name and affiliations. What about the actual stomach punch? All of this is made possible by the media. In addition to criticizing the woke mob, Maher also attacked the networks and sources that support them and selectively highlight outrage based on political trends. His takedown was more than simply a hot take. It served as a warning to a country that is perilously near to losing its sense of justice. Next voice, next voice.
To bury the Hunter Biden.
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course, you don't
but
follow
I'm
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
In an effort to downplay the Hunter Biden issue, the media went to great lengths to present the escalating dispute as merely a smear campaign carried out by foreign enemies. Stories that didn't fit the favored version of events were throttled by tech platforms, coverage was limited, and headlines were carefully crafted. It was damage control, not journalism. Whoopi Goldberg, sitting comfortably at The View's panel, echoes the dismissals without hesitation or doubt. She dismissed the accusations with the casual indifference that has come to characterize partisanship. Bill Maher, however, didn't believe it. He called out the larger hypocrisy at work and focused on Whoopi's deflections in a rare instance of mainstream opposition. Maher wasn't holding back when he criticized the selective outrage, the double standards, and the deliberate ignorance, exposing a media culture that is more concerned with shielding its political favorites and with holding them responsible. He criticized a system that prioritizes allegiance over the truth, Not
Matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this. It's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life. And when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied.
in every way, Bill Maher was spot on. Whoopi Goldberg and the other women on The View have transformed from progressive commentators into ideological enforcers, frequently acting more like a pack of sharks than chat show presenters. Their rhetoric is about dominance, stifling opposition with sarcasm, scoffs, and feigned outrage, rather than open discussion or intellectual honesty. The casual handwave has become a hallmark dismissive gesture used by Whoopi in particular, who dismisses opposing views as though they are unworthy of her attention. Never one to back down from exposing dishonesty, Maher tore off the facade and called these strategies what they are, bullying done in the name of advocacy. He didn't stop there either. His criticisms, which combine the searing truth with the humorous sting of someone who doesn't care whose feelings are hurt, have taken on the role of a sort of public service for viewers weary of echo chambers. Maher's takedowns are a breath of fresh air in a field overrun with one-note stories, reminding everyone that genuine conversation calls for more than applause lines and tribal allegiance.
Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here. And they actually see women and people of color. And it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare. Do problems remain pertaining to racism? And of course.
Maher is just getting started, but he is only putting down the harsh realities. He is revealing the difficult facts that lie beneath the polished exterior of mainstream media and progressive groupthink with a clarity that breaks through the clutter. His goal is to confront the established quo, not toe the party line or play nice for TV ratings. And what will he say next? It is not only audacious, but also explosive, the kind of truth that roars rather than whispers. Hold on tight, because Maher's next move is sure to leave people stunned and stories in ruins. Next voice.
Agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic.
Bill Maher delivered another incisive, blunt truth bomb, exposing media bias, hypocrisy, and The View's practice of stifling dissent. He emphasized how people like Whoopi reject opposing viewpoints rather than engaging in debate, and how scandals like Hunter Biden's are ignored when it fits the story. To put it briefly, Maher is only beginning to show the double standard.
If government should increase border security, same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. The votes are in. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
Bill Maher isn't sugarcoating the truth. Leftists need to quit offering justifications for Trump's victory. Millions of Americans supported his message, and blaming racism or Russia won't change that. It was the system itself, not a bug in it. Maher asserts that if the left wants a chance to win the next time, they need to stop playing the victim and instead refocus, regroup, and truly get ready.
There's a coalition of Trump voters, people who really like him. They certainly are those. And then there's people who don't necessarily like him that much, but they still think he's less crazy than stuff that strikes them as aggressively anti-common sense.
Reminding everyone that not all Trump supporters are wearing red hats or occupying the Capitol, Bill Maher struck another nerve. Many were simply tired. I'm fed up with being lectured to, with policies that don't seem to be grounded in reality, and with a progressive movement that occasionally seems more focused on Twitter influence than on pressing issues.
Yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma. Sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
The reason the left is losing isn't because people adore Trump. Rather, it's because their extreme ideologies are driving the middle away. They must cease promoting fringe ideologies and resume communicating with the real world if they hope to succeed.
If government should increase border security, same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. The votes are in. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
Maher didn't simply respond to the applause. Instead, he gave a masterful comic performance that ended with a mic drop. Maher reversed the script and attacked Whoopi and the View's brand of tolerance that only accepts their own viewpoints when she attempted to criticize him for having independent beliefs. His defeat, deadpan delivery, raw honesty, and cutting wit are all equally important. It was similar to seeing a stand-up show with the woke mob as the audience and factual jokes as the punchlines. Maher used sarcasm so accurate it could have been framed to illustrate their hypocrisy. Unadulterated, unrepentant, and hilarious, this is classic Maher.